colleagues, good afternoon. I know that we still have got people that are joining, but I think most of the people will come through and find us really at the meat of this discussion. Good afternoon from wherever you are joining. You could be in different parts of the world, so good morning or good night, depending on which part you're from. I would like to welcome all the participants as well as our speakers. My name is Melusi Twala. I'm from the Academy of Science of South Africa, and I will be facilitating today's session. So within the mandate of the Academy of Science of South Africa, ASSAf, we've got the responsibility to recognize and reward excellent scholarly research. Additionally, we've got the responsibility to foster international collaborations for the national system of innovation. So the role that we execute as South Africa's national representative body for the Frontiers Planet Prize embraces the mandate of the Academy, which is legally established through an Act of Parliament. ASSAf is highly grateful for playing this role, and it is on this regard that we actively, reach out to universities and research councils within South Africa to invite them to be part of this, journey. Our webinar today seeks to showcase the fourth edition of the Frontiers Planet Prize. So in 2025, we're already on the fourth edition. We want to share the details of the prize overall. And after that, we want to engage with you on how ASSAf handles the call as well as the nomination, as well as the review process, which is chaired by Professor Stephanie Bettin, who's also here today. We also will receive some feedback from the alumni of the Frontiers Planet Prize, Dr. Mia Strand from Nelson Mandela University, who was the national champion for South Africa for the second edition of this prize. Regrettably, she can't join us due to a last-minute urgent matter that she has to attend to, but she has recorded a video which actually covers, her contribution. And then lastly, we're going to have Professor Liz Kosten, who is a member of ASSAf, but also today she was the head of the president of the African Academy of Sciences, and she will be sharing with us some details about the new baby in the continent, which is the African Planet Prize. But without taking much of your time, colleagues, I would like to welcome to the podium Dr. Gilbert de Gregorio, who's from the Frontiers Planet Prize, to come and give us the overview as well as the introduction. Thank you, and over to you, Gilbert.
Thank you very much. Let me just see if I can share my screen. Is this okay? Are you able to see this okay, Melusi?
Yes, you can proceed. Audio is good as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Melusi and Professor Burton and Lise for welcoming me here today. My name is Gilbert. I'm the Associate Director of the Frontiers Planet Prize. And I'm really pleased to be sharing, for those of you who aren't familiar with the prize, its mission, its vision, the mechanics, and the kind of impact that we've achieved over the years. So the prize was launched on Earth Day, so that's the 22nd of April, 2022, as a leading initiative of the Frontiers Research Foundation, which has the underlying mission of enabling healthy lives on a healthy planet. What is the prize? It is a unique global science competition with the aim to recognize exceptional scientists delivering breakthrough scalable solutions to keep us safe within the boundaries of our planet. It is currently the largest science competition in the world that focuses on Earth system science and planetary health. And what are the outputs? Each year, a bank of national champions are selected and recognized by our jury of 100. And of them, 3 researchers win a prize award of $1 million specifically to invest and scale up their research. So what makes this prize particularly interesting is that the money is used specifically for research. It's used to scale it up, amplify its impact, and accelerate it. Through our unique mechanism, it's a way that we can collapse the timeline in reaching scientific consensus around the biggest global challenges threatening humanity today, allowing these solutions to be taken up on an annual basis. Through this, and through the mechanism where we mobilize so many different actors within the scientific community, we're able to have a global movement to identify these solutions at pace, what's needed right now, considering the limited time we have left to reach the Paris Agreement. The prize is all based on the planetary boundaries framework, which I hope many of you are very familiar with. It's a framework put together in 2009 by a group of scientists, Earth system scientists, including the late Will Stefan and Professor Johan Rockström from the Potsdam Institute of Climate Impact Research. And what the planetary boundaries framework looks at is defining the quantitative thresholds or the tipping points that we must stay within in order to avoid irreversible catastrophic environmental changes, which will threaten the way that we can live in harmony with our planet. Every update, which happens every 3 years, we're seeing a cascade of changes which are bringing us more and more into the danger critical zones where we have surpassed this safe operating space. And we're even seeing from now, whilst we've transgressed 6 of them, we're also looking, unfortunately, with ocean acidification having a significant impact due to the carbon emissions that are just ramping up each year. So the prize is looking at really how can we get science to provide the evidence-based policies to bring us back into this green space, this safe operating zone. So if we tie the vision of the Frontiers Planet Prize with the boundaries, what is it we're trying to do? As I mentioned, it's about having this, strengthening the global voice of science on an international scale, mobilizing the whole academic ecosystem, which means scientists, universities, research institutions, national academies like ASSAf, in finding those solutions. And once we do this on a national level, we then ignite this sense of competition between countries in a very competitive spirit to find what are those breakthroughs that deserve to be celebrated. And through this, and in collaboration with a number of our different partners, including the World Economic Forum, UN agencies, UNFCCC, we try to catalyze the adoptions of these breakthroughs through the different sectors, which can really amplify what we are trying to achieve. So what's very key about the Frontiers Planet Prize is the mechanism. It's our nomination community. So in a nutshell, this is what it looks like. We have our active scientists on the ground, those who are conducting the field work within the labs or indeed in the field, publishing work which have the solutions to bring us back to our safe operating space of a planet, but also advance our understanding of our Earth systems so we can clearly define with greater accuracy what those tipping points are, where we can then take action in advance to avoid us reaching those zones. We work with institutions, which we call national nominating bodies, our academies of science, our national representative bodies, a prestigious jury of 100, which I'll go through in a couple of minutes. And through this mechanism and engaging all these different actors, we then select the national champions per country, and of them, the international champions, 3 per year, each of whom win the coveted $1 million the Frontiers Planet Prize. We launched this prize back in 2022, as I mentioned, and through our first call for participation, 233 institutions joined. And this was originally from about 42 countries. In the second edition, this doubled to 475, and we closed the last edition at just over 600 from 68 countries. Now, what this shows, it's not only growth in numbers, it's growth in visibility and credibility in the importance of this prize, but also the power of the collective spirit of the academic community in really seeing that this is a great way to source and surface these solutions. We're in the 4th edition, and right now we're just shy of about 700 institutions, and we're looking forward to seeing how this will grow further. The prize isn't about scientists self-nominating themselves. This is done and federated also at an international level. And this is why we work with 24 national academies from across the world, including ASSAf and the African Academy of Sciences, in order to federate nominations and then put them forward to say, these are the best papers that come from these countries. We have a range of different academies supporting us, and we're really pleased this year in seeing a lot more engagement from institutions across the global south, where we have the Mexican Academy, Colombian Academy, Peruvian, and the newly established Pacific Academy of Sciences also joining and putting their scientists on the table. I mentioned we work with a jury of 100, and these are the individuals, the world experts across planetary health and Earth system sciences whose mandate is to select in complete independence the national and international champions. One thing that's very important about this group is not only the fact that they are prominent researchers in their field and they really embody diversity of thought, but we embody transdisciplinarity into the expertise of this group, which means we don't just have life scientists and environmental scientists as part of this jury. We have those in humanities and social sciences, and also people working within the legal sectors. And that's important to note, because coming up with a solution to get us back into, to get us to a safe landing of our planet means working across different disciplines. And we see this with Mia Strand, who is actually working within humanities and arts, and she was selected as a national champion for her work. Sitting at the helm of the jury, we have Professor Johan Rockström himself, and he oversees the composition of the jury to make sure it's balanced, but also is the chief arbiter for discussions about who should be the champions in each edition. The foundation we work with is rather small. We have a team of about 5 individuals, including Jean-Claude and myself, but we are very fortunate to be supported with a fantastic and visionary advisory board, where I'm sure you recognize quite a few of them. We have President Lise Corsten joining from the African Academy, but also the President of the International Science Council, Peter Gluckman, supporting us, as well as others from Future Earth and National Geographic and so on. What's very important about this group is that they help us boost the inclusive nature of the prize to make sure that we extend the reach, but also we have a strong enabler platform through our contacts and partners for us to bridge this implementation gap, with each champion being able to shape policy in the private sectors and transform new business initiatives through their award-winning research. So now I've gone through the different stakeholders. How does this all fit together? So what we do within the foundation is that we invite institutions like yourselves and academies like ASSAf to join as the national nominating body or the national representative body. Once they join, the NMBs reach out to the lead scientists of the most promising research articles, inviting them to apply, receive their application. And what you do as institutions is then to evaluate them and shortlist them to the top 3, which you share with your national representative body or your national academy, in this case, ASSAf. And then ASSAf has a very, very tough choice of, task of evaluating all of the nominations from South Africa, selecting the top 3 and submitting them to the jury of 100, who then undergo the 2 evaluation rounds. The first of which to decide on a national champion from each country, and the second to decide on 3 international champions from that cohort. One thing I want to make clear is that the jury of 100 work in complete independence, and just because a country participates does not guarantee that they'll get a national champion. And actually, this is something we saw this year, where very strong contenders in the past, including South Africa, but with Hungary, Belgium, Brazil, and others in Southeast Asia, unfortunately did not get a winner, even though historically they've even got an international champion. And this is done completely in independence. And then on Earth Day each year is when we make the announcement of the national champions, and then the 3 international champions are announced and awarded during the award ceremony, which typically takes place each year in the month of June. So one thing that's very important with each prize is we have to have very clear criteria. So how can you participate? We try to keep the barrier of entry as low as possible. So it's all based on one research article. It's awarded to the best research that's published in an established peer-reviewed scientific journal with robust peer review and transparent publication procedures. So all on one research article. We want to focus on breakthrough innovative research in the sense that it is only recently been accepted for publication. Hence why the window for this year has moved 1 year forward. So any article that has been accepted for publication between the 1st of November 2023 and 31st of October 2025 is eligible. And very importantly, this is open to all disciplines on the condition that it's focused on planetary boundaries, even implicitly. And in terms of research articles, any research article is able to participate on the condition that it presents original research findings or insightful reviews and syntheses that leads to development of our knowledge. The only 2 research article types that are not accepted are books and book chapters. And in terms of the research itself, there are 3 things. The first thing, it's about putting forward an actionable solution or a pathway to a solution. Something that can be implemented in policy, could be a breakthrough technology that can be adapted commercially, or any other solution, including civil engagement strategies, that can help contribute to keep our global development within the boundaries of our planet. In the same vein, it needs to link back to those boundaries. So in some way, advance our understanding and the quantification of these boundaries, exploring how they are impacting life support systems or the Earth systems as a whole, which means transdisciplinarity is also very, very welcome. And with that, because we're focusing on the Earth system scale and not siloed solutions that have a very local context, or one which only focuses on getting one planetary boundaries to be mitigated, it must connect to as many as possible so that we can really see the value this brings on an Earth system. My recommendation each year is to take a look at the winning research that has been selected from the previous editions, because it gives a really good understanding of what system change and transformation really looks like. I won't go take too long through this, but what I wanted to mention is that transformational science, you can see from our national champions from previous years. I want to highlight an example. So Petra Holden was the co-international champion from the first year from University of Cape Town with Professor Mark New. And what they saw was using nature-based solutions, they could pinpoint exactly which were the invasive tree species in the Cape region, which actually had a negative impact on the natural ecosystems that were there and also significantly impacted the freshwater systems. And by removing them, they managed to replenish this as well as reboost and replenish the biodiversity that was previously there. This is a kind of solution that the jury is looking for. So we have just closed our 3rd edition. So I'd like to share a few notes about the outputs and the impact we have made thus far. So this April, we're proud to announce our 19 national champions, our 19 brilliant minds that put forward research across climate change, land system use, how to replenish freshwater systems and biodiversity. And during the award ceremony, where I was really pleased that Professor Lise Corster managed to join, we announced our 3 international champions of this edition. From Australia, this is Dr. Aranima Malik, Professor Zara Kalantari from Sweden, KTH Royal Institute, and from the US and the University of Colorado, Boulder, Dr. Zia Marabi. I welcome you all to take a look at their keynotes and their articles that are all available on our website. So this is our 4th year, and I'm really pleased that during this period, we've managed to achieve quite a bit in this short amount of time. So To date, over 10,000 participating scientists have engaged with the prize through their authorship or co-authorship. We have selected 62 national champions and 10 international champions, sharing a total prize pot of just under $10 million. In terms of other ways we're delivering impact, we're actually shaping a significant amount of policy. So to date, and after our last check, we have been cited in 375 policy documents, of which 96 of them are top policy outlets. Excuse me. And of them, a lot of them are shaping policy at an international level, including the Publications Office of the EU, the World Bank, a number of different leading UN agencies, the Joint Research Centre from the European Commission, UK Parliament, the OECD, and very many others. So to wrap up and to say, okay, you would like to be involved, what are the next steps and what can you do to participate? All of this information that I've shared is all on our website. So I've just put this here in a much more concise way so you can follow exactly how this works. So I just want to focus on this part. This is the most important. If you have not, or your institution has not registered to participate, please do so. You can do so up until the end of September, but in order to get the process running, I highly recommend doing so right now. Once you're registered, your institution will be reaching out to the lead scientists of the most promising research articles, inviting them to apply, so that if you are here representing an institution, by the 1st of November, you need to submit your 3 nominations to ASSAf. And Malusi and his team will be working to select the top 3 from South Africa and submit them to the jury by the 1st of December. So concretely, what does this look like? If you're here representing an institution, register. The link is, I'll share the link straight after this meeting so that Malusi, you can share it around. Once you do so, you nominate your lead scientists who have a research article published between the 1st of November 2023 and the 31st of October this year. A key question we always get is, who is the lead scientist? Bear in mind, this should be the individual who best represents the research of the published article. And it's completely up to the NMB to decide who this is and to make sure that they have that discussion with the authors in advance of submitting their nomination. And one thing to note is that it's not based on the hierarchy of the authorship. It should be the individual who deserves that recognition. Once you have selected them, invite them to apply by filling out the application form. This is available in a resource hub, which is shared with you, attaching the PDF of the version of record of the article, if not the accepted article. Once you've received all of your nominations, you then select your top 3 and submit them to ASSAf. If you're here joining as a scientist, a very similar process, but the one thing that's important is go straight to our website. Go to our website, take a look if your institution is already registered. It's under nomination partners. If not, please reach out to me or info@frontiersplanetprize.org. We will then direct you to the registration page. Otherwise, if they are registered, we'll let you know who the point of contact is so that you can speak with them directly. And afterwards, you'll follow the process that's been set by your institution to get your application in. I mentioned the resource hub. So what is this? As soon as you register for the prize, you automatically go into a journey where you will receive all the information you need. So if you are an institution and you would like to put forward a nomination this year, you'll receive these 4 folders, the first of which has the application form and the scientist brochure to go through the whole process. A brochure for you is also there to give you all the information you need. We have drafted written communications. This is, for example, a template email or a newsletter that you can use and modify as you wish to promote this call in your institution. And we've also given you some visual assets if you'd like to use this for any of your communication strategies. And that's everything I wanted to say. So Jean-Claude and I are very committed, and we are here to support as much as we can. But ultimately, we are here to facilitate this prize. This is owned by the scientific community. So we only get out what we put in. So all I can say is please get your institution involved. If you've got a great article, please speak with your institution. You may be a winner like Petra Holden and Mark New from the first year, who collectively won $1 million. It could happen in South Africa again. Reach out to myself, Jean-Claude, anytime, and you can follow us on LinkedIn and check us out on our website. Malusi, I think that's it. So I'll stop sharing and I hand back to you.
Sure, no, thank you. Thanks a lot for giving that overview of the prize. You know, you managed to squeeze everything in, but I think all the important information you actually managed to touch through. And what's exciting for me is the fact that South Africa, you know, has had a good footprint in the previous editions. And that is what we're hoping to actually facilitate upscale as the Academy of Science of South Africa, as well as the continent, as you'll be hearing later on. So thanks a lot, Gilbert. Colleagues, we've got, you know, I'll say an intimate amount of participants. And with that, we're going to start migrating everyone onto the panel so that we, you know, you can with ease be able to raise your hand and ask questions. So once you see on your screen that you're being requested to join the panel, please, it's not because we want to put you on the spot. We just want to make sure that you are able to engage with our speakers with the relative ease. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome Professor Stephanie Betting, who chairs the ASSAf's committee that reviews all the submitted nominations from the various institutions, as Gilbert you know, mentioned earlier on. And she'll just be giving us an essence of how actually the review panel undertakes this role. Over to you, Professor Betting.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the invitation to speak about this. Let me start by saying that we work, ASSAf, Academy of Science of South Africa, works as a partner, if you like, with the Frontiers Research Foundation to make sure that we have nominations and that our nominations are chosen appropriately. So we're looking, as you've heard from Gilbert, for the best research which is published in established journals within the last 2 years. And we have an internal nomination deadline, which is the 1st of October, unless I'm wrong about that, but Malusi will correct me if I am. So then we as the Academy of Sciences of South Africa have the responsibility of working towards our nominations. Just want to remind you that the Academy is an Academy of Science, and its goals are about recognition and reward of excellence, promoting scholarly activity, promoting effective evidence-based scientific advice, but promoting the public interest in science, and promoting national and international linkages. So having a partnership with the Frontiers organization is, of course, a part of our international linkages, and one which we take very seriously. So the Academy of Sciences is the national nominating body for the Frontiers Planet Prize in South Africa. We're responsible then for coordinating the national leg of the competition, which includes establishing a national selection committee to have a look at the eligible submissions. And that is the committee that I chair. It means that we're responsible for overseeing the national selection process, and we reach out to lead scientists, organizations with promising research articles, and we invite applications for national nominations. And of course, organizations can nominate papers, articles, which fit with the bill that you've heard from Gilbert. So we set a deadline. Actually, I think, and I'll ask Malusi to confirm, but I think it's the 10th of November to receive all the applications. And then we convene a group of leading sustainability scientists, scientific leaders, experts to review the South African submissions for the prize. And we recommend a final selection to the of the nominees to the board, to the committee. So the applications are received, the national nominating body will select and forward its top 3 candidates to the National Academy, which is the National Representation Board or nominating board. And then that goes to the international jury that you heard about, the international jury of 100, who take a look at those. The jury nominate 1 national champion, and you are going to hear from one of those in a little while. And then from among those, they choose them from the national champions, and then they will choose an international champion to win the 2026 Frontiers Prize. And then that, as you've heard, gets announced. Our national champions are announced on Earth Day. It's a big process, and it's a very exciting one, because it's celebrating breakthroughs in sustainability science, and it rewards solutions that are really have the potential to help humanity stay within those limits of Earth's ecosystem. We have had a winner, a South African winner of the Frontiers Prize. You heard about it a moment ago. And later, you'll hear from Professor Mia Strand, who was the South African champion for 2024. And her work, as you heard, is from social sciences, but very transdisciplinary. And it really does confirm for us the importance of focusing, for example, on Indigenous and local knowledge. Hers was about ocean management, but it confirms the global importance and quality of research, transdisciplinary research coming from Africa. And importantly, that prize really was one which highlighted the societal role in advancing sustainability. Again, the transdisciplinary approach, the inclusion of society and community, which is something that we can't achieve if we work in isolated silos. Let me just say, as a National Academy of Science, we, of course, are supporting, or we want to see the rise of South Africa's participation in the Frontiers Prize, and we look forward to welcoming some really high-quality nominations, which will come to us in due course, not only in quantity, Joe, but also in the stimulation of excellent solutions. As you heard, the idea was that these articles and the research that wins these prizes is the kind that provides the ideas around or the concepts of implementable solutions. So we don't work in isolation when we do all of this work. We are in Africa, and we collaborate, of course, very broadly. And furthermore, within the network of African science academies, there's a rise of Africa's participation in the prize, and we support that and encourage it. And you will hear more about Africa's role in this in due course from my colleague, Professor Lisa Corsten. So in addition to the Frontiers Planet Prize, ASSAf shares information with sister academies and participates in working groups that provide a platform for African scientists to compete and to network. So, in conclusion, I will have the privilege again this year of chairing the National Committee where we do our selections, and I very much look forward to receiving the portfolio of applications. And I do encourage you, if you haven't already had your institution nominated, done some nominations and some submissions, please to give it some thought. It really is a very exciting program. I had the privilege of attending the prize awards meeting last year in June, and I was deeply impressed by the excellence of the award winners' work, but also the extent to which the program and the organizers reward and celebrate that research, which is truly at the frontiers of sustainability science. So I would like to encourage all of our research community to work towards more visibility for the program and greater participation in making nominations. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Professor Bettin, for giving the overview of the national process. And just to confirm the dates, we've got NNBs, universities and research councils have got up until the 1st of November this year to submit their nominations or their applications through their institutions. And then ASSAf will have a month to review those. And by the way, just to emphasize, the panel that is chaired by Professor Bettin is made up of experts from different institutions within South Africa, research councils, as well as universities. And it's not exclusive to members of the Academy of Science of South Africa. And we undertake that on a rotational basis just to ensure, that there is diversity also in terms of disciplines, because this is a transdisciplinary prize. So it is important that we have scientists that come from different backgrounds as well, just to give that holistic assessment of the applications that we do receive. Thanks a lot, Professor Bettin, for your inputs, and then hopefully we'll be engaging further during the Q&A with our attendees there. And then the next step would be to get from Mia Strand from the from Nelson Mandela University, who was the previous national champion for South Africa, for her just to share with us her experience, of the prize and, what to look out for. Rodzani, I'm hoping that we can now be able to play the prize. The video. Over to you.
Thank you, Melissa.
My name is Mia Strand, and I'm a Nippon Foundation Ocean Nexus postdoctoral research fellow based at Nelson Mandela University. I am also the Frontiers Planet Prize National Champion of the second edition. First of all, I just wanted to thank ASSAf so much for having me here today. I'm very sorry that I can't be there virtually in person, but please feel free to reach out to me by email if you have any questions or any comments at all. So first of all, a little bit about my journey. I think it's really important to emphasize that my journey towards the Frontiers Planet Prize started with the current head of my institute, the Institute for Coastal and Marine Research, Dr. Denise Shale, who actually thought about submitting our paper to the prize. And from there, it was quite an interesting journey. I think we were one of the only social sciences papers that made it that far. I also think we were the only South African finalists that were a social science paper. But it was a really great process trying to think about, how our research aligned and addressed the 9 planetary boundaries, but also how it related to broader aspects of environmental change and research and governance beyond South Africa as well. So a little bit about the research. It came out from my PhD, which was supervised by Prof. Bernadette Snow and Dr. Nina Rivers. And it explored the value of arts-based participatory research for more equitable ocean governance. So more in depth, we did a lot of place-based research. It emphasized storytelling and really worked with people who had felt excluded from the ocean governance process so far, specifically marine spatial planning in Algoa Bay and marine protected area management in uThukela in Mandeni in KwaZulu-Natal. So it used a lot of photography and storytelling in places that were important to people, and it emphasized collaborative analysis of the stories that came out and brought together government representatives, conservation authorities, scientists, local communities, indigenous peoples, and activists together to discuss how these stories, these priorities, and these narratives of the ocean could better be incorporated into ocean governance moving forward. Just very briefly about the results, it really looked at how we need comprehensive transdisciplinarity, which really builds relationship with people that are non-academic partners, and really the importance of embracing participatory research, which is where co-researchers, as we refer to people, non-academic partners, actually play a role in designing the methodology, the questions that you asked, and how you kind of measure success of the research. We also found that the arts-based methods were really important when it came to kind of sharing power in the research process, particularly because a lot of research methodologies and institutions are still bearing legacies of colonialism and what we call coloniality, which is the current aspects of colonialism. And that's really important because it really is about shifting ownership and power in the process of who has influence and power in informing decision-making and ocean governance specifically. So the paper you can access here, and it's really about thinking about how we convey, think about, represent, conceptualize what is seen as ocean stewardship and who is seen as ocean stewards. And I think even though a lot of my research has moved beyond this, this paper is from 2022. It still holds a lot of truth in terms of the role of arts-based processes. But I think one of the important things that I've kind of moved on in my own work is not to integrate or to better just hear and see indigenous and local knowledge systems, but really to co-produce processes and really to actually elevate and prioritize indigenous-led and local-led knowledge production processes and processes that where they have the ownership of the ways in which their knowledge systems are actually informing governance and decision-making processes. So I just wanted to bring up this figure quickly because this was what I was sharing when I went to the Frontiers Planet Prize award-winning ceremony, and we did an incredible symposium with the Willars Institute, which I'd really recommend looking into. And what I was saying there was that part of what we need to do looking forward is co-imagine what equitable oceans or decision-making look like. And I focus on place-based transdisciplinary research, participatory community mapping to kind of take back who has the role and power in mapping processes. Really focus on students and researchers in the global south. And I think, yeah, there's still a lack, what I'm seeing on a global scale in terms of representation and who is kind of leading these processes. I just came back from the UN Ocean Conference in Nice, and it still felt like there was not enough maybe leadership from the global south and from Southern Africa. And finally, arts-based and creative methods, which is very close to my heart. And so this has really actually paved the way for the work that I'm doing now. So applying some of this work and some of this research now, last year and this year, after I finalized my PhD, I've been working on a Southern African Resilience Academy working group where we actually have a special issue call out at the moment on ocean literacies, where we invite people from the Western Indian Ocean region to share stories and narratives and knowledge that should inform a plurality of ocean literacies and stories, and anyone can submit in any Western Indian Ocean language that they want. This also aligns with the importance of really looking at the role of language and who has a say in decision making, and also how we conceptualize important aspects of ocean governance. I'm also working on a Blue Tainted Transition working group exploring arts-based methods and mapping and how this can advance tenure systems, particularly for small-scale fishers and local coastal communities in South Africa and Zanzibar. In my current postdoc, aligned to the call for the special edition, is really looking at how ocean literacies programs can better reflect a variety of knowledge systems. My PhD and my paper really shows that there are many ways of prioritizing caring for and relating to the ocean. And this is really what I think is needed to be scaled up and put into practice. And finally, I'm also on 2 working groups of the Society of Socio-Ecological Systems, and one is on transformative arts-based methods. Again, we're looking at creative processes and how this can really change the way we produce knowledge for more inclusive and equitable environmental governance and resilience. And then also navigating ethical place-based research, which really speaks to the transdisciplinary work as well. So reflecting on some of the results, I published a commentary in the South African Journal of Science recently. We're looking at how ocean equity really needs to emphasize that there are many ways of knowing the ocean, and there's many ways of caring for the ocean. And we really need to focus on knowledge systems that have been and continue to be excluded, therefore focusing on what I call cognitive equity. So it's not just about, who has a seat at the table. It's about who is designing that table, who has made decisions about what that table should look like. So when it comes to equity, it's really about who is defining equity in the first place, and who, not just who has a seat at the table. And a lot of my work now is about the actionable science. I've been part of an expert group of the International Science Council, where we, for the UN Ocean Conference, also really emphasize the demand or the new kind of science where scientists embrace their inner activists and need to recognize the responsibilities that we have in terms of the recommendations that we give to governance and government. And I think that transdisciplinary research can really play a huge role here in terms of emphasizing collaboration over polarization. And also, finally, from theory to practice, we've been part of a bigger blue paper for the high-level panel for sustainable ocean economy, looking at how we can co-produce sustainable ocean plans with Indigenous and traditional knowledge holders. And it's been a very broad and big collaborative process with a lot of incredible people, and it's worth looking into in terms of looking at where does the theory in terms of the co-production transdisciplinary aspects bring us when it comes to bringing in human rights, Indigenous rights, and looking at the practice of actually co-production when we're trying to move towards more inclusive and equitable ocean governance. And finally, sorry, I'm a few seconds over time. Looking to the future, my work now is really, again, looking at the theory to practice and how do we scale up in terms of learning from caring and relational transdisciplinary research. And some of the questions that I'm looking at is, what does less extractive research look like? I think most research in science is extractive to some extent, but how can we do research that actually has actionable kind of processes in them? How can we bring in decision makers and knowledge holders into the research process to be co-researchers, and therefore make sure that it makes sense also in a current policy climate, and exploring the role of art in these processes, particularly when it comes to ensuring that research doesn't perpetuate coloniality, which a lot of it currently does. And looking at what can be lessons of this from more inclusive and equitable ocean governance. So if anyone wants to talk about this with me, then please do reach out. And also, if you have any questions about kind of coming into the Frontiers Planet Prize, I do really recommend to submit your research. I think the moment you have submitted it, you don't have much say or power in whether it makes it or not. But I do think it's worthwhile trying, and it's a really, really valuable process to be there as well. So thank you so much.
Well, in her absentia, we're really grateful to Dr. Mia Strand for sharing, her journey and her experience of being the national champion for South Africa for the Frontiers Planet Prize. I think just two key messages that I would like to, emphasize on is the fact that every scientist's contribution is accommodated in this prize. Dr. Mia is not an A-rated scientist or a senior scientist, as you heard, that this research, which she utilized to submit her paper, came out of a PhD. So everyone really is encouraged, irrespective of your, career stage. The second thing is, the opportunities that she has now harvested or gotten into as a result of her participating in this competition. So it's not only been about the competition itself, but how her work, can be catalyzed into other platforms which actually seek to reverse humanity's contribution in transgressing those planetary boundaries. So those are just the two things that I thought I would like to really emphasize as we digest Mia Strand's contribution. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're at a time where we can engage with our speakers. If you've got questions around, the parameters of the prize itself, suitability criteria, nominations and reviews and timelines and so forth. We've got our speakers there, Gilbert and Professor Stephanie Burton, who are ready, but also from the Secretariat of ASSAf will be able to address your questions. Okay, I do note the first question that's been posted in the chat box, but also, oh, okay, where did it go now? All right, Dr. Rika Swanson, I assume you're referring to how your institution can register. Is that correct? And okay, I see. Oh, all right. I see the conversation is going fast on text there, but I'm glad that you've assisted there, Gilbert, with that. I'm not certain from which institution you're from, Dr. Rika, but please utilize that link to register your institution. But also, if you are not certain if your institution has registered, you can reach out to us to verify that, for you. I think, Gilbert, you indicated earlier on that a majority of South African universities and research councils have already registered. But yeah, if you just want to confirm, there are some that I know from the top of my head, institutions that are registered, but we can assist with that. Okay, I also see that you provided the link where people can check if their institutions are registered. So thanks a lot for that. If there are any questions, there is one. Does the Frontiers Planet Prize also cater for undergraduates who have already published, and what are key prerequisites? I think I have an answer, but I would like to allow you, Gilbert, to address that question, whether undergraduates whose work has been published, do qualify.
So any research article that fits the criteria is eligible, regardless of the author's seniority. The one thing to note, though, is that the individual who represents that article is the person who represents the research behind it. So it's completely up to the national nominating body to decide whether it is the PI in this case or the first author. If I give you an example of times where the first author, Mia Strand, is a perfect example. She actually was a PhD graduand and was in between her master's degree and getting her PhD, and she was put forward. So answer to that is, if your institution and the co-authors deem that the first author in this case is eligible, then that's absolutely fine. But it's the article that has to fit the criteria.
No, thanks for that. And yeah, I do recall, I think she graduated after she had attended the Frontiers Planet Prize to obtain a PhD. So yeah, I think in that it is really the publication itself, not necessarily the career stage of the authors, but if the paper does respond to more than one of the planetary boundaries and proposes implementable solutions to reverse transgression. So I think in that regard, any individual from a registered institution is actually eligible. I don't know if there's any hands raised around the table, but I do welcome anyone who's got a comment, or you just want to clarify something. We really have got a pool of knowledgeable people with regards to this process, from the administration criteria. Something that maybe I can again emphasize for benefit of everyone. In terms of the suitability criteria, books as well as book chapters are not eligible for submission in this competition. So just please ensure that it's articles in peer-reviewed journals that you do, submit for consideration. We have had, at least in South Africa, institutions submitting book chapters, and unfortunately, as per the rules of the competition, those do not, actually qualify. So let's just make sure that we do sharpen, our suitability to actually go through in the review process. And drawing from Professor Stephanie Bertin's, comments there, the panel actually nominates 3 papers from South Africa. So it's only 3 that goes to the jury of 100 nominations. So even from the South African context itself, the competition is very tight, because from a numbers point of view, we can only submit 3. So they really go with a fine eye to ensure that what gets submitted is really what is the best research within the parameters of the competition that South Africa can actually offer. I'll just go again. Something popped up. Another question is there a requirement as part of the nomination process where a project plan for the prize money needs to be provided? And I see you ready, Gilbert, to take that. Please go ahead.
I have to go and check the application form again, but for my recollection, no, you don't have to give an outline of how the prize money will be used. But you do have to mention the perceived impact of your work and how it can be scaled in 24 months, for example, and how you think that would happen. The only time we would require some kind of a preliminary project plan for the funding is if you are indeed an international champion, and that will just define the purpose of how you can use the money. And then it's based on that for the reporting back on an annual basis.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. Based on what we receive from the NRB point of view, it's really only a synopsis of what the paper is about and why you think it suits the criteria of the Frontiers Planet Prize, where the NNB is given an opportunity to sort of motivate, how it contributes to reversing the decline of our crossing the planetary brine. So the project plan, at least at application stage, is not necessary. I hope that that addresses the question there. But also, once we have this opportunity, just briefly, if either Professor Bertin or you, Dr. Gilbert, feel there's something that maybe during your slot you forgot to mention, please, if you can do that. I think in the absence of questions, we'll then, after taking the last round from you, and then move over to Prof. Costin. But let me start with you, Professor Bertin, if there's something maybe that you just want to emphasize.
No, but not particularly, but just to emphasize that the the selection process is done in a committee which includes experts in the field. So it's not only an administrative process, it actually is a quite in-depth investigation, if you like, consideration of the submissions, and the experts who are looking at those are experts in the fields of environmental change and so on. So it's an in-depth process. It takes a while. It's detailed enough, but I think that it is a very rational and very fair system. I just want to answer one small question. I see there that there was a question about being a private higher education institution. You can register as a private HEI, but you still need to register with the program. So as long as your organization is registered, you can make submissions.
Thank you for those remarks, Professor Burton. Thanks a lot. Gilbert, if there's something that you want to highlight, no pressure, but if there's none, that's also okay, but over to you.
That's everything. I don't think I have anything else to add. So thank you very much, Melusi, and thank you everyone for your time.
Okay. Now, thanks a lot to our two speakers. Colleagues, I see we do not have any questions, and I think we've addressed all in the chat box as well as the Q&A. But, as we mentioned, we can engage continuously via emails and otherwise. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I think we can conclude the Q&A and rush over to Professor Liz Colston, who today comes in as the president of the African Academy of Sciences, just to share with us the planetary footprint within the continent. Professor Colston, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's wonderful to be part of this session. So let me first of all say I'm proudly an ASSAf fellow member, but I'm also carrying another hat, and that's president of the African Academy of Science. So I want to share with you what we have done in the African space, which includes South African ASSAf members, and you will automatically flow into the African Planet Prize, which I'm going to talk about. But I think it's quite important for us to really share with you what we're doing, why we're doing this, and how you can be involved. So first of all, the Frontiers Planet Prize, you've already heard through this, you've already walked through this, the different steps and recognition of breakthrough research, aligned, of course, with planetary boundaries. You've already heard about how it was launched. And the most notable to me and the most important was the current 3 champions. And make no mistake, $1 million, Frank, that's a lot. I just thought that that's a significant amount of money that you can do and use in your research programs going forward. But it's also the recognition. And very importantly, it's also about really making a difference. So it's a very important process. And I want to just share with you my experience, because I was there last year with Stephanie. She was also there, and as she said, and I was there again this year. And this is a game changer. I remember traveling up into the mountains in Switzerland the first time, and I was in a bus with many school children. And, school children, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't realize that they were all invited to the villas, by villas for this occasion, and they were part of this whole event. But I will never forget the energy and the passion and the excitement. And later on, I saw many of these students. And, I thought this is the future generation of leaders. We have changed something in their minds, and this is really what we should expose African scientists to. So it was during this event that I actually, I remember very clearly one slide I saw, and it was a map about all the runners up and where they were positioned. And there, right in the middle, was Africa. And there was nobody, not in that year specifically, or there was one or two, and it was South Africa. Later on during the event, I asked them, where's Africa? Where's the African scientists? Why don't we have more African scientists at this incredible event? Make no mistake, the global environmental challenges are really impacting on Africa. And it's so important to ensure that we have a pipeline feeding into this incredible award. So that was the beginning of incredible discussions with the Frontiers community. And we then decided, no, we must introduce a way to bring more African scientists on board. So I'm not speaking only on behalf of South Africa, but it's really a continental view. And how do we increase our capacity? How do we support our scientists to publish that winning paper? And that's what we thought we can do. If we can identify prominent papers coming out of this continent, and also then encourage a whole new generation to be part of this, I mean, that will be a game changer. So that was the beginning. We had several meetings and events to try and really establish African Frontiers Planet Prize specifically. And we've worked on this, and we now have an agreement in place, a platform to support African scientists throughout the continent and encourage them to become shortlisted on this platform, but also to specifically recognize African Planet Prize winners. So we now have a specific prize that we will award, and we will follow exactly the same pattern. And what we've also done is we want to promote the high impact sustainable research. And we want to also focus on early career scientists, because we believe that's how you're going to build this pipeline into the global Planet Prize platform. And it's very important for us that we've now launched it. And we have now opened on our African Academy of Sciences platforms a call for institutions to nominate the best papers coming out of the Science Corps. And we also are currently working. We have several other African continental players that we want to bring on board, also ASSAf, to help us select the next generation of African Frontiers Planet Prize winners. The people shortlisted on this will automatically go through to the Global Planet Prize. And we have already reached out to several universities and institutions in Africa. And we want to then specifically ask South African institutions and ASSAf to help us with identifying potential future Planet Prize winners from South Africa that we can put forward. But be mindful, we want to be inclusive in the African continent and ensure that we include other African countries. So we are hard at work bringing them on board. And just to give you an idea, it's a $5,000 prize that we will give to the students. We also, or the student, or the best paper. And then we also want to link them into the current ARISE initiative and other funding initiatives and opportunities, such as open science platforms and other initiatives, to enable them and empower them to become the next generation of Planet Prize winners. We envisage Africa to be almost a third of those runner-ups at the next Planet Prize, and we know that we can make a difference. We will also identify 3 African scientists as winners, and they will each receive that funding. And we will follow a similar model of assessing in terms of the jury And then we want to announce the winners in November 25 at the Science Forum. So the call is out, and we can share with you the more detailed information. So from my side, thank you very much for the opportunity to share with you a broader vision for the African continent. Thank you very much. And I'm so grateful for having had this opportunity, and also to be part of this Frontiers Planet Prize. It's really an incredible group of people. And it's really a privilege to have been there, and to see our young scientists embarking on incredible journeys. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Costin, for sharing the information with regards to the sister, within the continent. So this is really a big opportunity for us as African scientists to apply for these opportunities. You can see that the prizes that are mentioned there can really change a research, programs profile. We also had the various opportunities that Mia Strand has, harvested by being a participant in this program. Now we've got an African focus, competition as well, which encourages early career scholars to participate, and they can utilize that amount to enrich their program, as mentioned. I would like just to quickly check if there is a question with regards to the latter part. I noticed that we've gone beyond time. I apologize for that. But if there is a burning question to Professor Costin there with regards to the African prize, please just raise your hand, and we'll take that. Going once. Okay, there's something here. Going twice. Well, I guess there's none at this stage. Professor Costin, thanks a lot, for your remarks. Colleagues, we've gone through our webinar today, and we've come to the end of that. Firstly, I would like to thank all the participants that registered to be part of this webinar today. We really appreciate that you could take time off your busy schedules to be with us today. We hope that the information that was shared would be useful to you and your respective institutions. I would also like to thank our speakers today from the Frontiers Planet Prize, Gilbert Gregorio, and also from the ASSAf review panel, Professor Stephanie Bettin, in absentia, Dr. Mia Strand from Nelson Mandela University, as well as the ASSAf member, as well as President of African Academy of Sciences, Professor Liz Costin, for sharing the information with regards to the new competition that we have there. And last but not least, our organizer for this session, Ruzani, who somehow remains behind the curtain there, as well as the other colleagues who supported her. We're really thankful, Ruzani, for all the work that you put to organize this session, which we just had today. And on that note, colleagues, we can bring this session to the end. And last again, to everyone, thank you for your participation, your presentations and your questions. We look forward to receiving, an increased number of applications for this year. And with that, we officially close this session. And I'd like to wish everybody well for the rest of the day. Thank you.